Thank you to HubSpot for sponsoring this video. I have spent the last 2 years learning about every productivity and time management tip that exists. And in this video, I wanted to share with you 4 of the most life-changing ones that I've learned. These include both evidence-based strategies and ones that I've personally discovered. And it's a reason why I was able to run this YouTube channel alongside a full-time job, still have time to learn new skills, to travel, and have somewhat of a social life. Let's get into it. Number 1, efficiency tracking. This is possibly the single most effective thing you can do for your productivity. What I used to do was work for 8, 10, 12 hours a day and tell myself that by putting in more hours, I was being more productive. And I thought I was getting a lot done because I was constantly occupied. Then when the end of the day came up and I looked at my to-do list, what I set out to do at the start and what I actually accomplished were miles apart, and I couldn't understand why. I'd look at everyone around me accomplishing all these great things, and I can barely get through my 5 bullet point to-do list of 20-minute tasks. Where was I going wrong? Like you, I've also watched back-to-back videos on productivity, read books on it, articles, looked into the research, and one of the simplest things that came up a lot, but I kept ignoring because of how mundane it seemed, was tracking my time. And the act of just doing this for 1 week, tracking how exactly I'm spending my time on every single task, was the thing that made me realize working for 2 hours does not mean I've got 2 hours of that work done. What it did mean is that I spent 20 minutes checking my emails, 10 minutes switching between applications, 5 minutes quickly replying to WhatsApp messages. Just by taking the time out and tracking exactly how I'm spending my time on any given task really gave me clarity on how much productive work I was doing versus what's distracting me and what I need to cut out. I used Clockify to track my time. It can give you a report at the end of the week. You can also do this through Excel, using a pen and paper, whatever method you use. I promise you, this will save you hours of lost productivity. Before I get into the rest of the video, over 76% of people who watch my videos are not yet subscribed. If you're part of that 24%, then thank you for helping me out. If you're part of the 76%, please can you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button? It really helps out the channel and it helps me continue to provide free content. Number 2, aligning 20% of your work. There is this concept that Marcus Buckingham, who is a career expert, talks about, and he says to look at your career in terms of red threads. Everyone's job is made up of loads of different colors of threads, red, black, brown, green, whatever. And these different threads signify different activities, different people, tasks, situations. Some of them we don't enjoy, but some of them we do. And the ones that we do, we can look at as the red threads. These are the tasks or the things that we work on that we love, that inspire us, and that makes us feel alive. Everyone's is different, but everyone has these red threads in their working lives. Now, what I found really interesting is that he says you don't need to have a full red quilt to be happy and fulfilled. If just 20% of your job involves activities that you enjoy, this can significantly impact your motivation, fulfillment, and therefore productivity. With just 20%, you're more driven, you're more focused, more aligned with what you do. And even if you reach 30 or 40%, the difference isn't that much greater. But when you drop below 20%, there's almost a linear relation between doing less of what you love and increased risk of burnout. So the very first thing you want to do is identify what exactly those red threads are for you and think about how you can weave them into the rest of your career, because those are the things that will ignite you and inspire you. And if you don't add them into the rest of your career, no one else is going to take responsibility for it. When it comes to the non-red tasks, I also try to think of ways to make them more enjoyable. One of the ways I do that is by listening to different music genres at different times of the day. And I picked up this technique from a free guide on how to be more productive at work that was on HubSpot. The guide is full of evidence-based productivity hacks designed to help you achieve more in less time. It's packed with practical tips and tricks, tools that are backed by research and science, so you know that they work. The guide tells you not to listen to music at certain times of the day because it can actually have the opposite effect. It can be distracting. And for me, especially in the morning when my focus is already sharp, I don't need background music. But for other times of the day, it recommends organizing your Spotify playlist by genre and mood so you can easily find the right soundtrack for whatever your work day is. Another interesting thing it mentions on page 13 is this concept called toggle tags, which refers to the time lost when constantly switching between applications. And that can cost you up to 4 hours per week. And then I'll tell you tips on how to handle this, what tools you can use, and how to prioritize tasks and projects more efficiently. If you're looking for ways to be more productive and efficient with your time, I highly recommend checking out this free guide on HubSpot. Completely free, doesn't cost you a thing, and you'll pick up something that you can implement straight away. The link is in the description. Thank you to HubSpot for sponsoring today's video. Number 3, the decision rule. In a research study, which I'll link below, psychologists explored the reason that impacted whether or not a judge will approve a criminal to be released from prison on parole. Researchers looked at over 1,000 rulings over a 10-month period. And what you think would be the case, that the judge's decision depends on the type of crime or the type of law, what they actually found was something very different. And it was at the time of day that that ruling was held, had one of the biggest impacts on their decision. At the beginning of the day, a judge was likely to give a favorable ruling about 65% of the time. But as the morning wore on and the judge became more drained from making more decisions, the likelihood of a criminal getting a favorable ruling steadily dropped to zero. This is essentially what decision fatigue is. The idea that after making a lot of decisions, your ability to make more and more over the course of the day becomes worse. When your willpower is fading and your brain is tired of making decisions, it's easier just to say no and to keep everyone in prison than it is to debate whether or not they should be able to leave. Decision fatigue happens every day in your life as well. The more small decisions you make, the less willpower you have as the day goes on. And understanding this properly had led me to change a lot of the actions I did early on. So the most obvious and visible one for you guys is what I choose to wear when I record my YouTube videos. I promise I wear other colors, but I have about 5 tops that I wear for my YouTube videos, and they're all black, so it doesn't require me to sit there and think about what I'm going to wear or have to make any decision on my side. I set that low expectation from the start, and it made a huge difference on me just turning up and creating content over and over again. The way one of my friends applies this, she lays out her clothes for the next day the night before. So that's one less decision she needs to make in the morning. And number 4, what would this look like if it were fun? This is an idea that I got from the book Feel Good Productivity, and I absolutely love it. The whole concept of this book is that the way to be productive and to be in your most productive state is to love what you do and structure your work in a way that you enjoy the process. And this is a completely different spin on the standard hustle culture that we usually hear about. So the way I apply this on the days that I have a lot of admin to do and I've been putting it off for weeks on end, I would now look at tasks and think, what can I do to make this process fun for me? Sometimes it's transforming an Excel spreadsheet into something that's really aesthetic pleasing, color-coded, has some difficult formulas in it and makes me feel intellectually stimulated. Or it's working from a new local coffee shop or working with some friends together and having planned breaks. Think about how you can turn what you need to do into a bit of an experience and an adventure. And I just cannot recommend this enough. Whenever I'm feeling a bit drained or not motivated to do something, taking myself out of my normal working routine is just the thing I need to feel inclined and to move to get things done. There are loads of other productivity and mindset shift hacks, all backed by research in the book. And if you want productivity to be a part of your life for the long run, rather than just something that comes in spikes, definitely check this out. I'll leave a link to it in the description as well below. Talking of productivity, if you want more and you want to tour around my workspace and how I set it up to be in my optimal flow state, check out this video over here. And if you want some more productivity habits that save me 20+ hours a week, this video right here is for you. Thank you for watching and see you there.